bring in Sara Yael Hirschhorn. She's a historian and political analyst of the Israel-Palestinian conflict and visiting professor at the University of Haifa. Sara, thanks for joining us today. Now, trying to defeat Hamas while also prioritising the recovery of hostages has required a delicate balancing act on Israel's part, and of course the release of Palestinian prisoners is seen as a massive feat for Hamas. But is this the best case scenario, as far as Israel's concerned, at least?
Well, I think Israel's very concerned that the hostage release thus far only has been circumscribed to women and children, which of course is a huge victory to have these families reunited. But there remains many men, including elderly men, middle-aged fathers, and even soldiers who are seemingly going to be left behind in this current deal. There's also concern, I think, from Israel's perspective, that the success of the hostage release is, of course, dependent on the simultaneous exchange of Palestinian prisoners. And these are individuals who have been convicted of terrorist offenses by Israeli courts or have been held in administrative detention for committing terrorist acts. And it's a very big price to pay for Israel that's in fact trading some of its security to secure the release of these hostages at the moment. There also remains the question of what will happen after the next 4 days, or perhaps longer, as your correspondent noted, whether there will be increased pressure for Israel to agree to a complete ceasefire, or whether hostilities will continue after this brief exchange of hostages, humanitarian aid, and prisoners. So a lot remains to be seen.
And as Sam mentioned, Hamas has decided to delay the release of the second round of hostages due to what it says Israeli violations, saying that Israel flew drones in the south and wouldn't let the agreed amount of aid trucks into northern Gaza. Israel denies breaking the truce. How precarious is this deal in the face of these kinds of reports, do you think?
I think it is very precarious. The question about how much aid is being let in and when and where remains uncertain, although Israel claims these were technical delays and more trucks arrived later in the afternoon. We should also note that there are a few rockets or some other kind of incendiary devices that were shot at Eilat, the southernmost city in Israel, actually where many of the evacuees are currently sheltering from southern Israel. And Israel also claims that Hamas is breaking the agreement by not allowing the International Red Cross to visit prisoners. So there's a lot of allegations being thrown around on all sides about who's violating truce. I think things remain very, very sensitive. As we heard only moments ago, that through Egyptian and Qatari mediation, it seems that the deal will continue tonight. But only an hour ago, there was a great amount of uncertainty here in Israel about whether there would be any further hostage releases and whether this ceasefire might be imminently broken. So it's very touch and go.
And Israel's vow to resume the war is at cross purposes with Arab countries who negotiated the hostage release and want the temporary truce to evolve into a more long-lasting ceasefire. How much more can Qatar and its Arab neighbours do at this point to keep these terms of this agreement? And how likely do you think that we'll see an extension?
Well, I think it was very significant that this morning a Qatari airplane arrived in Tel Aviv with its insignia of Qatar. So it was known to the Israeli population that Qatar had arrived and was not, in disguise. And we're here, obviously, to mediate alongside the Egyptians, who have taken a very prominent role. And Israel, of course, is keen to continue to cultivate the Egyptian role and give them credit as one of their major security partners in the region. It remains to be seen how these negotiations will play out. Certainly, the Arab world is trying to encourage Israel to reach a complete ceasefire and then possibly a return to some of the normalization agreements that had already been in the works prior to 10/7. But so much has changed, only in the last few days, but certainly in the last month or two, that it's hard to see what the end game is, both for the Arab countries as well as for Israel at this point. Once the hostages are released, will Israel feel the need to continue a ground operation? Who will rule in the Gaza Strip once Israel has completed its mission? And will the Arab countries be interested in reviving ties? I think there's been so much that has changed that it's very hard to say where we're going, because there's been a complete paradigm shift since 10/7.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Sara Yael Hirschhorn, historian and political analyst, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.